All right, welcome back to Black Bear News. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. What's going on, everyone? We are live on Callin, Rockfin, and YouTube. And good to see everybody here. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get right into it, or attempt to. I'm going to start with a good tweet from XR Cambridge. As climate crisis accelerates, never forget that the fossil fuel companies forecasted all of this 40 years ago, then paid PR people many millions to create campaigns of lies, doubt, and denial. Then they bought politicians to ensure their future while effing ours. Now the bill comes due. Right. Right. And it's been a very effective campaign. That's real. So they've known everything about climate change, known how bad it is, known the consequences. And the really ironic and sad part is that people repeat the talking points of these PR campaigns from the fossil fuel companies as if they're telling you the truth. It's weird. It is weird. That's the only thing I can say about it. It's really weird. I don't understand that the people that can completely, that somehow have the finger on the real things that are going on, cannot just repeat these absolute think tank talking points. It's wild. Human Love Solidarity says Graham Elwood is looking for someone to be a guest from XR. You think Kevin qualifies? Well, that's funny. I think I'll skip on that. I don't think Graham Elwood wants me on a show. For various reasons. Anyways, let's keep going. Oh, really quickly, remember the other day the caller, I think it was North, was talking about a South American leader or president who lived in a shack? And I forgot that Denver Attaway had posted in the chat information on exactly who this was, because I didn't know who it was. Jose Alberto Pepe Mujica Cordano, born in 1935 as a Uruguayan politician, former revolutionary and farmer who served as the 40th president of Uruguay from 2010 to 2015. A former guerrilla with the Tupamaros, he was tortured and imprisoned for 14 years during the military dictatorship in the 70s and the 80s. A member of the Broad Front coalition of left-wing parties, Mujica was Minister of Livestock, Agriculture, and Fisheries from 2005 to 2008, and a senator afterwards. So, if anybody remembers that conversation, or, I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. It doesn't say, did he actually live in a shack? Maybe he did. I don't know. I'm assuming that's Denver knew who we were talking about, or who North was talking about. Never heard of him until now. So, interesting. Of course, leftist. South American leftists trying to do things for the people against a right-wing imperialism. Go figure. All right. Let's see. We're going to go. Here's some more coverage on this action in the Hamptons. Activists wake up. Trump Trump confidant and billionaire donor Steven Schwartzman at 5 a.m. outside his Hamptons mansion. He didn't come to greet us, but we're pretty sure he heard our message. Nicely done. I approve. As I generally approve of most protests and protest energy, I'm not really particular to the side of the argument you're on, or I just love it when people make their voices heard and get in people's faces and shut things down. I think we need more of that, period. Let's see, where are we at? Seems that there is now fires in Spain after reaching 43 degrees C recently. After 43 C, fires in Spain. This was recorded in the daytime. Because there's so much smoke and fire, it looks like it's blotting out the sun. Really scary. 43 C, super hot. And a side note, just a really random side note, I was watching a video unrelated to climate change, and this is a video from maybe a couple years ago, and it featured some English dudes talking about, I don't know, they were talking about a motorcycle or something, and anyways, they were like, it's really hot. So whatever time this was, they were like, this is insane. It's like 39 C, 38 C. They were like, it is super hot, right? That is, anomalous, extremely anomalous temperatures for the UK. And they're going to reach that again soon, or are already feeling that. And, yeah, so that's really, that's the thing that's actually happening. But it was just interesting because it was a few years ago. Right, so if you're paying attention, if you're paying attention, if you're paying attention, if you're paying attention, if you're not repeating the fossil fuel think tank talking points, you are understanding that it is getting warmer. You are understanding that in the last 5 to 6 years, it is noticeably warmer. Record-breaking heat pretty much everywhere on the planet, and it keeps going up. It gets worse every single year. What does that mean? That means global warming is a real thing. And the only way that you can deny that is if you choose to not pay attention to it or dismiss it as something. But it is actually a thing that's happening. And I just, when you hear, I like seeing or hearing G. Demarest says 30 C in London, England. Fairly warm. Yeah, these are temperatures that are not supposed to happen in England, okay? They're just not supposed to. It's just not. It's just not a thing. It's not a climate is always changing thing. Sorry to tell you that. It's now, is it summertime? It's hot in the summertime? That's what's supposed to happen. No, it is not supposed to happen. Not in England. Those temperatures are not in Portland, not in Seattle. Again, you have to really work hard. You have to really be unconscious to get into the denial of something is going on. And so, again, I'm flabbergasted. I'm just like, and the people that say these things are often people that I do pay attention to the news and the coverage of things, other things. But man, when they get to climate change, they just fall flat in a muddy ditch. I don't really understand it. And it's a weird thing to me. Um, Anyways, let's get to the thing I wanted to talk about, or the thing that is in the title of this video. Nearly $2 trillion of damage inflicted on other countries by U.S. emissions. I think this is fairly well known and fairly clear. Research puts U.S. ahead of China, Russia, India, and Brazil in terms of global damage, as climate expert says numbers very stark. Yeah, I mean, historically, we've been the biggest polluter and emitter. Yes, China has emitted more than us in the last few years, or has been a large emitter for, a few decades. But historically, and not just emissions from the U.S. historically, but our, you can say most of the Industrial Revolution has emanated from the United States and the technology that the United States and the consumption, the standard of living, the style of living. The entire world has tried to emulate a U.S. style of, right? Everybody wants to come to America. Everybody wants to live like Americans. Everybody wants to consume like Americans. Everybody wants to do what Americans do. And that has been a thing for a long time, for decades. So we've been the pusher of the global industrial fossil fuel sucking consumption, overconsumption, paradigm. We are the progenitors of this entire thing. And so a lot of it, I would accept that most of that should lie on the shoulders of the U.S. The U.S. has inflicted more than $1.9 trillion in damage to other countries from the effects of its greenhouse gas emissions, according to a new analysis that has provided the first measurement of nations' liability in stoking the climate crisis. Excuse me. The huge volume of planet-heating gases pumped out by the U.S., the largest historical emitter, has caused such harm to other, mostly poor countries through heat waves, crop failures, and other consequences that the U.S. is responsible for $1.91 trillion in lost global income since 1990. I mean, okay. This puts U.S. ahead of China, currently the world's leading emitter, Russian, India, and Brazil. Why did they say Russian? It's Russia. India and Brazil is the next largest contributors to global economic damage through their emissions. Combined, these five leading culprits have caused a total of $6 trillion in losses worldwide, or about 11% of annual global GDP since 1990, by fueling climate breakdown. Okay. And that's it. That's pretty much all I want to cover of this. It seems a strange thing to quantify. It seems a strange thing to put a dollar amount on the amount of damage. Because when it ends up being an extinction event, there's just not really, it doesn't really matter what the dollar cost is. And on top of that, okay, this is great that they quantified it, but how, what do you do about that? I mean, the U.S. is never going to pay that. The U.S. is never going to be on the hook for that. And I doubt other countries will be on the hook either, right? So I guess this is an interesting exercise in trying to figure out, who did what to whom. But in the long run, nobody's going to pay any price for this other than pretty much everyone. Right? We're all going to pay the price for this. It doesn't really matter what the dollar amount is, or who's responsible, or who's. It's happened, it's done, and it's happening, and everyone will suffer. So I don't know what you need to know beyond that, really. But people like to, I mean, maybe this could be evidence in a court battle. And I'm sure it will be. To what end? I don't know. It's not really, we're not really close to doing anything substantive around climate change, so I just don't know. It's like reparations. Like, how do you put a dollar cost on slavery? They've done it, but I mean, you really can't. How do you put a dollar cost on the trauma, generational trauma, and there's still economic trauma being exacted on the people who suffered, under slavery. So it just, and there's no way you're going to pay it back. And guess what? They're not paying it back, right? So there's no, the U.S. is never going to, the U.S. is never going to admit culpability, because then that would be, because then you're on the hook. And then they're like, well, we're not going to pay that money. Anyways. So that's it. Around that, it's just an interesting number, I guess. Interesting. They've got some graphs here telling you like what everybody did, how they did it, who did it, when and what. And, there you go. All right, YouTubers, thank you so much for hanging out with me, but it's time for me to sign off on YouTube, because I'm going to talk about other things. If you would like to continue hanging out on the show, you can go to rockfin.com and follow Black Bear News, or you can listen in on Callin. Enjoy your day, YouTubers. I'll see you all tomorrow at the regular time.